My name is Vina, aka Miss WZ Reader, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my February reading wrap-up, my final one. So, where I left off on the first half of my February reading wrap-up, I read the last one. Well, after reading the last one, I was pretty much in a reading slump. I really could not focus on anything. So I was like reading like maybe half a chapter here, some paragraphs here and there, but I wasn't really finishing anything. And then on top of that, then I had to go back to working an in-person job, which I have not done fully in person since 2020. So I was just really exhausted. Like almost every night I was just tired. I couldn't really focus on reading anything physically. And then I was like DNFing different audiobooks because struggling to find like the right narrator for some of the books that are on my shelf that I wanted to finish. And so I really didn't read a whole lot in the second half of February. And I'm not sure how much I'm going to read during the month of March, to be honest, just because this new job is just extremely draining. Like, I'm like looking for a new job because this is just really like one of those like get yourself back in the door jobs so that you can get something better. But there's just like a lot of stuff that I have to do for it, and it's very like mentally tasking, and some days are some long hours. So I'm not sure quite what I'm going to read during the month of March. I'm trying to get back into like being able to read physical books, and I have some audiobooks that are going to be coming in. And it's really like finding something that sticks, because now more than ever I really just want to read books that bring me joy versus books that just feel like I'm going through the motions. But I do want to talk about the few books that I did end up reading. So I read Space Chasers, which was the first book in the Space Chasers series by Leland Melvin. He is a famous black astronaut, and this graphic novel was like a passion project of his, which I thought was pretty cool. I'm always looking for more books targeted towards black kids set in space just because there are so few of them. It's been something I've been looking at since 2022 when I visited the Kennedy Space Center. I would like to see more of these books to give like kids something to dream about. And I love that this one in particular was so diverse. You had a black disabled child who had cerebral palsy. You have a Latinx girl who is growing up with just her brother, and she's not really great at school, but she's really good at mechanics. You have like an Indian student. You have like a white jock. There were just a variety of different children of races and backgrounds, all coming from different areas that children can see themselves in, and they all get chosen for this special program where they're going to send children up to space. So they're training with NASA for this special mission, and of course the mission doesn't go as planned. So it was a pretty unique take on sci-fi, because obviously we're doing stuff in here that NASA would never do. NASA's not just gonna ever send somebody's children up into space, at least not anytime soon. But since you're getting this from a real astronaut, he's incorporating like his knowledge, but with a sci-fi twist to make it fun for the kids. So I thought this one was really great. Then I was just in the mood for a really short read, and I had been trialing KU, so I'm like, before my KU ends, let me just read something quick. So I read 12 Days of Christmas, 7 Swans a Shooting by Kira Davis, because it was one of the only books in her Sophie Katz mystery series that I didn't read. This is Sophie Katz 6.5. So I loved this series growing up. I read it in high school. So at the time when I was transitioning out of YA reads. I just wanted something a little bit more. I ended up reading this series through my library and fell in love. It's a biracial protagonist, and it's not quite a cozy mystery. It's more like during the height of like chick lit books, so she's like fun and witty and smart, and she's a mystery writer who also ends up getting sucked into these mysteries. So it was like a really fun time for me. So I just have like great nostalgic feelings about this series. This was a relatively quick read, took me right back. Basically, her sister is setting up this new company where she does events, and she's doing somebody's flash mob engagement. Well, it's supposed to be a flash mob of Swan Lake, and she gives one of the principal dancers the engagement ring. The dancer doesn't show up on time. She sends her sister to go look for her, and when Sophie finds her, the ballerina is dead, and she has to figure out who killed her. So short, sweet, quick mystery. I had a good time with it. It was fun. It said Christmas, but it wasn't like holiday vibes too much, so it didn't feel like a strictly Christmas read, but it was very enjoyable. I listened to That Friend by Sabrina Breyer, and this was just like a curiosity read. I never watched her videos. I knew her from her appearance on Abbott Elementary, but this particular book, it's one of these new things that Simon & Schuster has been doing, where they get these TikTokers who got famous off of skits, and they're now adapting their skits into an audiobook, like strictly audiobook. Like, this is the type of story that really doesn't work outside of audio, and it kind of has like a radio show feel to it. So if you've ever seen her That Friend skits, I guess you kind of know the vibes of it. I'm not gonna lie, the first chapter I was ready to DNF. I'm like, oh no, this is too Valley Girl for me. Like I just immediately could not stand Sabrina. And her friends were really no better. Like, they're the type of people who really should not be friends with each other, but since they've been friends since 7th grade, they all still hang out, and they all just happen to move to New York together, which is like privilege in and of itself. And basically, Sabrina is Delulu and wants to be this big influencer, so she's doing all these things to build a podcast. And she's giving advice about friendship, even though she is a terrible friend to her friends. And I won't say that the book really picked up until about chapter 4, because prior to that, I'm like, I am definitely going to DNF. But then it started getting a little bit interesting around chapter 4, as like Sabrina starts to finally show some vulnerability, and we just see a little bit more of who she is as a person, and we get to meet some of like the people that she actually is like a good friend to. But overall, I still ended up rating this one a 2 because it's just not great. And I find it interesting that they optioned this for a TV show. I believe they're trying to make it with Hulu, like, because it just feels like Sex in the City, but without the hot sex. Like, that's the best way to describe it. Like, it's just this millennial, Gen Z, I'm not sure, woman who is trying to live the glamorous life in New York and go to all the famous places that everybody talks about, get into the best parties, wear the prettiest clothes. Daddy is helping fund her like living there. So it's just kind of like that dream that some people have of living their best life in New York, which I know like Hollywood loves those types of shows, so I'm sure there's definitely an audience for it, but it was just not for me. Then I read The Perfect Ruin by Shanora Williams, and I read my first Shanora Williams book in January, I kept hearing people say they liked her thrillers, so I'm like, okay, her writing was pretty decent in the book that I read. I'm gonna go ahead and read one of her thrillers, and she is mostly a romance author. This was actually the first thriller that she had published, um, and this was only published a few years ago. So it was definitely giving Lifetime vibes, which I haven't really watched a Lifetime movie in a minute, but if you know, you know. So we're introduced to this woman. She wants revenge. She is angry. We're not sure why she wants revenge. We just know that she wants revenge. And she has the name of the person that she needs to like enact that revenge on. So we're following her. She's like getting prepared to take over this woman's life. She is trying to like make herself like the perfect mold to fit into her world. She tries to cover up her tattoos. She gets breast implants from this woman's husband, who is also a plastic surgeon. She positions herself because this woman is like a big socialite. She positions herself to get a job at her charity and befriends her, becoming like her closest confidant, with a plan to steal her husband and ruin her life. It takes a long time in the book before we find out exactly what this woman did to her. So by the time we find out, I'm just like, oh, that's it? Like, it was bad what she did, but I'm like, really? Like, we're doing all this because of that? I don't know. But, like, also, you realize, like, this main character has some mental health issues, and she was just kind of activated in part by her therapist, who was doing stuff unethically because she was paid off to do so. And then we get this big wild twist, which was very much Lifetime. And there wasn't really anybody rootable in this book at all. Like, nobody was rootable. I actually hated how the ending went. Oh my gosh, the ending was, it was so unsatisfying. But I will say it kept me entertained. I read this basically in one day, at work actually, because that day I was just like sitting on the computer, I had my headphones in, doing like a training module, and just like listening to this whole thing like the entire time. So I will say it definitely kept me entertained, but plot-wise it wasn't the strongest book, so I will check out one of her other ones to see if I like that one more. Then I read Needy Little Things. This one is by Chanel Desamores, and I ended up listening to a lot of this one too. I read it mainly over the weekend, and this one I was surprised. Like, I actually ended up liking like the character voice. I thought that it did feel very teenish and relatable. I was very skeptical just of the premise, because basically this main character has these psychic abilities, but these psychic abilities are really unhelpful. It's just like voices in her head telling her like, this person needs gum, this person needs socks, this person needs scissors, and if she does not give them these things, the voices get louder and louder and they like really disrupt her. She also has ADHD on top of it, even though this like specific power of hers, a lot of like the symptoms also feel like ADHD. So she's doing really bad in school because she's not able to concentrate. Her little brother has like a chronic illness that her family's been dealing with. So her family lives apart. She and her mom and little brother live in Atlanta, and then her dad lives on his family farm in a smaller town in Georgia. Like, her parents are still married, they just live apart. Her mom also has clinical depression, so she's dealing with that too, and her psychic powers don't work to help the people like she's related to or like really close to with their needs. She ends up getting these free concert tickets to like kind of like an Afro-punk festival, and she and her friends go. Then one of her friends disappears, which is crazy and triggering because one of her friends, Malcolm, he had a twin sister who ended up getting kidnapped, and then she ended up murdered. So like they're freaking out because like the police didn't really do anything, as they usually don't when black kids go missing. So they're trying to solve this mystery of their friend's disappearance. It was a lot packed in here, like a lot. I feel like the author just tried to do too much, like hitting too many hot button issues, and she didn't have enough page space to properly develop them. Like, sometimes I find that authors do try to do a lot when they really just need to focus on like one or two issues and focus on those well. Like we didn't need her failing school and the issues with the mom and the issues with the brother on top of dealing with the friend. It just like felt like a pylon, because like every time you turn around it's like, okay, now we're experiencing money troubles, let's talk about that. And it was just too much to like focus on in a satisfying way. And that's what really ended up bringing the book down for me. I'm like, yeah, we're talking about these important issues, but we're not doing it with any like nuance or depth. And while it was intriguing, it kind of slowed down in the middle of the book. And I'm like still reading, trying to like figure out what's going to happen to the friend. And then there was this twist that just really irked me, and just I feel like it undercut the like a lot of what the author was trying to tell us. So I left this book kind of confused about like what the takeaway was supposed to be, like what message I'm supposed to get from it. So it was an okay like debut, but I feel like it could have been stronger. Also, like the whole clairvoyant thing, it was just like more like something to throw in to make the thriller stand out more. Everything that happened here could have still happened regardless of her having that power to figure out people's needs, because it really wasn't helpful or beneficial to her in any way. I don't feel like she really learned how to control it well either by the end. So I was so confused about that, because it wasn't like the type of like psychic powers like That's So Raven, where she gets these visions and she doesn't know what it's going to mean and she kind of has to figure it out. It's just like, I have to constantly give people these things. So she had like a knapsack of stuff she would constantly be handing out to people, and I'm like, what is the point of this? Like I didn't get it. But I did think some of her writing was strong. I just think she tried to do a little too much here. Then I read Frankie and Friends, The Big Protests, just because this one was sitting on my shelf since I can't even remember the month of last year when it's been sitting on my shelf. So I'm like, I might as well read it, because I try to read like a lot of these children's books too before I gift them to people. And so in this one, Frankie is learning what a protest is. Her mom is a reporter, so she's constantly trying to put herself in her mom's shoes, like, and she ends up doing like this little like skit with her like dolls and stuff about protesting. This kind of is like an intro to social issues for children. This is a chapter book series. I thought it was decent, but I don't know if the girls would really like something like this, at least like the ones I know. Because I don't feel like it feels like it's just missing like a little extra something for them. So that was everything that I read during the month of February. Let me know in the comment section below, how was your February? And if you like this video, make sure and hit that like button. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!